guess connected with security, because when we are talking about transformation of international order, security is number one in a different perspective. So, dear Rector, Professor Zabta, the floor is yours.
It will be very fast because to save time. Just my message was, why in this new era, new world order, we need to work together. And will you play slides very quickly, because I have a few slides for you and it takes time. So now you have to work interdisciplinary. For example, if I ask the international relation researcher about Security Council Resolution 1540 or Biotoxin Weapon Convention, for example, who signed it, who didn't sign it, and as we were having a history, even in this modern world, killing human beings for some sake. So, and there are some disciplines that are very really dangerous, like bioweapon. You can inject in a human being and he is a bomb. He can go anywhere and spread it. You have seen corona. Can I have slides? So here are the two things I'm talking today. BWC, we call it Biotoxin Weapon Convention, and the other one is Security Council Resolution 1540. So the dual use of education, we had a survey in European 29 countries, and scientists, what is dual use of education? They say, oh, we don't know what is it. I'm doing science and I know I don't do anything bad. But there are some people who can misuse science. So that is what we call it. And in this modern world where there is a globalization, there are threats like you saw, synthetic biology, new viruses that can be made in the lab. And then there are, so the innovation versus dual use risk. What should we do? How should we protect human being? And then for that, we have international regulation that wants the nation to have national regulation. Do we have it? These are the questions. Can I have next, please? So in this concept, when we talk about the New World Order, that is the dramatic shift from geopolitical, economical, and social in the world. We have to understand the implication of these changes and the dual use of education. So we need to promote awareness, culture, responsibility, etc. Next, please. So here are some examples. We had anthrax attacks in 2001. After 9/11, a scientist was crazy to get some money in US. He sent letters to the top leadership and getting money, but finally it was disclosed that he was a scientist, he just did for money. So there are issues, and then COVID-19 is another example, recent example that we had. So for that, there are regulations, like I said, Biotoxin Weapon Convention, there is a Security Council resolution. So for the convention, it was in 1925, Geneva Protocol of World War II, where Poland and many countries had devastated by the human actions, I call it, let it simply, leave aside the politics. So that is still those memories we have. So for that, to avoid any dangerous situation of biological weapon, this was the convention. And then in 75, there was more development, and there was a chemical convention. And they designed a web of, prevention. How can we prevent it? Through legislation, etc. Next, please. So the obligation that each party is responsible not to produce stockpile or not to transfer biological weapon to other countries. So there are various articles that you can use biology for peace, but you cannot use biology for other purposes. And that you can never in any circumstances develop or stockpile microbial or other biological agents. This is very strict. But for peaceful purposes, like diagnostics, other biologists understand what is peaceful, what is non-peaceful. So, but sometimes there are loopholes that they can misuse it, that they can, biosecurity, biosafety issues that we have. And then is a Security Council Resolution 1540 that again has member states to have and enforce effective measure against the proliferation of nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons. So we have to understand all this. And that is the objective, is to prohibit non-state actor to have an access to these weapons. How can we protect all that? And so that is to add to the workforce laws, such laws, the countries. I don't know whether if I ask a scientist of IR, whether you have some legislation in your country for biological weapons. So there will be a question. Usually, it's not that quick by the many countries that they have it. And this is what we were debating in UN. I was representing the academia, that how much they know about all this, the Security Council resolution. So we were having debate and we were encouraging views about all this. But let me give credit to Polish Academy of Sciences. This was in 2007, where we have an inter-academy partnership in Italy, where the world academies are member. I, as a Pakistani academy, we were in Polish Academy 3-4 times, and we developed this dual use of education mechanism, how to do awareness with the scientists. So this is the credit that I give it to Polish Academy of Sciences. They were very vibrant, and we had several meetings, and now people understand a little bit about this. So there are two things, biosafety and biosecurity. Just to understand you, the biosafety is to protect people from the germs, and the biosecurity is to protect germs from the people, so that they could not take it away. They could not misuse it. And this is the line between good and bad, dual use, where you can use for civilian, for energy, like you can use nuclear energy for peace, you can use nuclear bomb for destruction. So there is a thin line between the use and abuse, and you have to understand that. Next, please. And again, if I explain it very simply, for peaceful purposes in biology, diagnostic, drugs, vaccine, antiviral. Another side, you have bioweapon, you have suspected mobile things, where you can inject to the human, you can spread it through the animals, spread it to the plants, and that is what can happen. Next, please. So here is that we engage the people for, how to avoid unintended consequences of research. You may not be doing it, but somebody else can misuse it. Or bit carefulness is needed. If you are not careful, you can take it from the lab out with the clothes, with your hands, and that can go to the society. So that is that you understand all this, how to avoid. So for this, what we need is is concerned. Infectious diseases, personal genomics, neurotechnology, many CRISPR technology now. There are many advances for the good of human. Like you can have gene therapy for your diseases, but the same can be misused if a scientist can create something which can destroy the whole universe. So these are the things that we need to understand. Specifically for low and middle income countries, where we don't have enough money to secure the labs and you have all this, and that is of diseases, etc. Next, please. So this is what we are doing in Pakistan, and now I invite the Polish, this university also to work together for international liaison, for relief, for how to understand and how can we have inclusive and equitable collaboration to understand all this. The problem in major university, the academia, is that they don't have time for the society to talk to these issues. They keep it. It's not my job, because they have the percentage of their time for teaching, for this, but we need some time for the society to make them understand what's happening. Next, please. And this is the education network that we are trying now in Federal Urdu University, that we will have promote cultural exchange, we will have education quality and global understanding about all this. If you look at the recent publication of 2024 Global Top 10 Risk, there we have AI, misinformation, social media. We have conflicts between the countries. We heard about Armenia, we look about the Middle East, the world is still so crazy. So that is that we understand all these issues that we have in the future, and of course the release of biological agent. If they release it, nobody will be safe. You have watched Corona. Next, please. And the most important is even without having a biological weapon, you can through social media destroy, like hesitancy in vaccine. You say you have some information and people vaccinate themselves, and there will be a problem, it will be spreading. So there are a lot of mistrust on the scientists, on the government, and that will create a problem in the society, and that is what delegitimize the science. They will say, oh, no, scientists are not doing good enough. Next, please. This is what we were doing when I was Secretary General of Pakistan Academy of Sciences, a lot of webinars, events throughout the world. And we addressed all the topics possible to talk in those 3 years, what's happening and how to avoid the future pandemic. So that is, you can, when you talk about the, policymakers, pseudoscience, you imagine, and we talk about all this. Next, please. And what we need is that we need to have national, international, and local. This is not something which you can only address to your own nation. Now the germ doesn't understand, they don't have passport and visa. They can go anywhere. So you have to work, please. Next, please. So, and our collaboration were everywhere. We were collaborating with all institutes in the country, both international. We have a lot of links. Trying to, and Pakistan was very responsible. We had less damage in COVID as compared to other countries like neighboring India. They have more deaths, they had more problems. Next, please. So that is what we were doing. We publish information, we work with the society, and we had several publications on this. Next, please. Our international partners, global partners, now we have another good partner here in Poland, but we work with Polish Academy, we work with Indian Academy even, we work all over the world to talk about this issue. So joint policy to address this. One more thing very important was One Health research. Now, as I said here, I'm talking to international relations students, but you can, when we say One Health, it's not on human. It's human, it's animal, it's plants, it's environment, all considered together is One Health. If you destroy biodiversity, you will suffer. If you have animal, majority of the diseases come from animal, or from human to animal. So that is, you understand the issue of One Health, and that is what we did, the programs for international patient training on this One Health also through the US Academy of Sciences. Next, please. And we had some very, if you look at the international world, some very good international organizations that are working on this, and we need to have partnership to understand this international relation in terms of science. When I say the science is the biological science. Next, please. So what we need is to ensure biosecurity, to have a, understand the threat, to understand the dual use, and to have, treaties to prevent the national pandemic. Next, please. And for that, we need international collaboration and information that is available for you. Next, please. So for future direction, we need to have enhancing the infrastructure among the countries. We need to understand the capacity of the not only biological science, but international relation, political science. We have to work together to have public awareness to address this critical issue that we have. Next, please. So for that, we have challenges and solutions that we have to identify. Challenges what we face, like gaps, propose solution, and we look ahead for the emerging trends in biosecurity and biosafety. Next, please.